And this is Real Estate Underground.
Greetings and salutations, my friends in Real Estate Underground world. This is Ed Matthews with the Real Estate Underground podcast. Thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with us today. So today is an interesting episode because, one of the things that I'm always talking with investors, folks like you out there in podcast world is, how do I create deal flow? How do I find the deals? Or, boy, I wish I work 60, 70, 80 hours a week and I've got family and kids to take care of. And, I just don't have time. The third thing I always hear is, man, I don't know where to find the money to fund the deals that I've got. Problem solved. So with me today is Kevin Amolsch from Pine Financial Group, and he is a private lender. And so we're going to get into the private lending world and what he looks for and how he evaluates folks like you and me in terms of doing our deals. So Kevin, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time today.
Ed, I can't even say thank you enough to you. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here with you and your audience. You told me a little bit about them before we jumped on the call, and I'm excited to see where the conversation goes.
Awesome. So for those of us out there, I gave a little bit, but let's dig a little deeper into who you are and how you got here. So let's talk about you and how you got into this space and what Pine Financial is all about.
Yeah, so I'll have to take you way back.
Right,
when
cool.
I was in high school, I was like so sick and tired of studying and homework and tests and all that, right? But
Dude, brother.
I didn't want to just not do anything. So I decided to join the military. And when I was in the Army, I was saving a little bit of money because, look, you don't spend a lot.
Right.
It's like, okay, what am I going to do with this savings? I have to invest it somewhere. So I just started reading books, and the Rich Dad Poor Dad is the one that came up. But,
Bible, yeah.
I decided to start focusing on real estate investments, and I bought my first house. I was just turning 21, got out of the Army, and moved into it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Moved out of it 2 years later, kept it as a rental property, and I saw the appreciation. I saw the tax benefits. I saw the tenant, starting to pay my mortgage down for me. All of the benefits that real estate investors get.
Yeah.
And so I decided this is the vehicle that's going to make me rich, and I really started focusing on it.
Good.
I started buying 1 or 2 houses a month. And you said in your intro here, the people that are struggling because they don't have time to go out and find the deals and all that. Look, I was in school full time. I was working. I had the National Guard. So every 4th weekend I'm out of town.
Right?
And I was still buying 1 or 2 houses a month. So it can be done.
Yep.
But what I learned through that process, Ed, was the thing that I love about real estate the most is the deal structure, putting it together. How are you going to negotiate it, write the offer, all of that? And it all comes down to the financing. Where is the money going to come from to do your deal? That's how you structure your deal. Right. So I started focusing on the financing side, and here I am. We make loans to investors.
Wow, fantastic. So in terms of asset classes that you and your team focus on, anything in particular? Are you more residential? Do you look at commercial? Any other asset classes?
Yeah, we've got a little bit of a variety here. Look, my background's in residential, so we really focus in on that. We're about 80%, 20% resi to commercial. Okay. On the commercial side, we have an appetite for industrial and retail. Those are kind of the 2 asset classes that we feel most comfortable in. Right. But we'll look at anything. Like we just did a office building in Chicago, but it's such a sweet deal for everybody. We couldn't say no to it.
Right.
So every deal, numbers, you hear this a lot, but numbers, price fixes everything. So we'll look at anything for the right numbers, right?
Exactly. Yeah. If the gazintas work, it's a go. So when you look at, the various things, obviously, first off, thank you for your service. I have, and my family is a mix of Army and soldiers and Marines. So there's
never a conflict there, is there?
Never. No. I think, offline, I'll tell you some stories that are pretty colorful, but it makes Thanksgiving very interesting.
I bet it does.
So as far as your business and where you look for opportunities, how are you finding deals, and are you all over the country, or are you focused in a particular region? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so on the residential side, we're really focused geographically. So we loan in Colorado, Minnesota. We do go into Wisconsin, and we just started lending again in DC. We were lending in DC a while ago, and we had a hedge fund behind us, and then they pulled out, so we pulled out. Yeah. Now we have our own funds, and we're going back in. So those are the 4 markets we're in right now. And then on the commercial side, I feel more comfortable on that side, quite honestly, even though it's a little bit shaky with the economy and what's going on there. But you have higher quality borrowers, typically more liquidity,
Right.
and we are a little bit more conservative. So instead of maybe a 70% of value loan like we typically do on the residential side, we're capping our loan at 60 or 65%.
Okay.
And those ratios are based on stabilized or completed value, not purchase price. So that's what makes hard money, private money so attractive.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you say completed value, let's define that.
Yeah. So let's take the simple fix and flip. That's how we got started. That's what we do a lot of. So if you're going to fix and flip a property, you buy it at discount, you do the improvements, new kitchen, new bathrooms, that kind of thing. And then you exit or you sell it at a much higher price. And that's how you make your profit, right? So that exit price, the after repaired value, or the ARV, we call it, that's the number that we use to base our 70% ratio on. So
Gotcha.
if it's $100,000 house, we'll loan you 70 grand. If you could buy it for 50, we'll loan you the 50 plus the 20 to make the repairs.
Wow, that's awesome. And so, when you are looking for investors, right? One of the things that I'm always curious about is, how do you evaluate somebody like me, right? I used to be a flipper. Now I'm in the multifamily world, but it's the same business, right?
Sure.
I mean, I was talking with somebody earlier today, I buy crappy apartment buildings from landlords who aren't very good at their jobs. And we go in and we make them clean and safe, and we upgrade the common areas, and then we upgrade the units. We force appreciation, and then we hold it for a while. And if it makes sense, we sell it. Most of the time we keep it, right? And same things as flips, right? You buy that at $70,000 property, you put 25,000 into it, you sell it for $125. Everybody, you're forcing appreciation there. Everybody wins, and I give you your money back. So how do you evaluate an investor, a guy like me, if I'm starting out? Or let's start with the newbies, right? So when I'm starting out and I've got one deal under my belt, and you and I are talking, am I somebody that's a potential candidate for your services, or do you look for more experienced folks?
Yeah, look, we will work with someone on their very first deal, but we don't want you to just take all the risk with our money, right? So we're going to make sure that you have some team in place to help you through that process. You can't go at this on you. You can't just watch TV and a fix and flip show and then decide you could do it, right? So if you have a good realtor or contractor, that kind of thing, and we can get confidence in your team, then we want to help you in your first deal. Look, everyone has to start somewhere.
Exactly.
So we'll do that now. On your stuff, like the multis, we have a big appetite for multis. We're just not seeing the deals out there. There's so much, the cap rate compression is still unbelievably tight. I can't believe how tight it is with interest rates going where they're going. But you're still, I don't know about your market, but in Denver, I mean, if you can get a 4 cap on a multifamily, that's kind of the going rate. And that's, I don't know how anybody makes any money, right?
You're hoping for appreciation, which is a very dangerous business.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, it's so here the cap rates are a little better. You're probably looking at urban A, B plus is 5.5 to 6, and suburban's getting into the 6.5 range. So we're getting back into a place where cash flow is realistic without having to throw down a whole bunch of money in equity.
It's good. I mean, it's hard with 6.5 interest rate to even make a 6 cap work, really. I mean, that's why you're a value add investor, right? And that's where most investors that are making money today are value add.
Right. Yeah, it's the only way right now.
Only way.
And you're right. The inventory is way low, and they're really hard to find. But the fact is that when we're looking at deals, it's funny. Offer prices or listing prices are always the lagging indicator, right? And I have this conversation with building owners. Gosh, it's got to be every day at this point, where it's like, all right, I understand that this building is worth, let's say $1 million, right? It was absolutely worth $1 million on January 1st, 2021. Without a doubt, I'm not even going to push back, right? However, the Fed has been busy, and they've raised the rates, 5-6 times in that time period. And so I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. If you do seller financing and you give me the terms where I could have gotten on January 1st of 2021, I'll buy the building for the price you want, right? Well, I can't do that.
Genius.
Yeah. Well, if you give me 4%, I'll absolutely buy that property, at a 5.5, 6 cap, right? No problem.
Yeah, I love it. And that's how I got started, right?
Right.
How do you buy 1 or 2 houses a month when you're a college kid? Well, it has to be financing from the sellers. That's the only way to make that work.
Only way to.
So
Yep.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah. But it's interesting then that a lot of those the building owners were like, well, no, I want the money now. I was like, yeah, me too. But the fact is if you're going to ask me to pay a 2021 price, I need 2021 terms, right? 2023 terms are very different. And thus the price is very different, right?
Totally.
Interest rates go up, prices have to go down. And I think
Well,
I think it's a 6 month plus lag.
I'm just trying to get creative with you now that I'm thinking about it, as you describe this to me. What about if they want their cash so bad? What if they just refinance a property if they have that much confidence in the value? Pull the money out and they do a contract for deed or a master lease or something like that. You can get your money now. We can make that work. We just got to be creative, right?
Right. Yeah. There's always a way, right? But the fact is that I agree with you. The bottom line is that sellers are still a little bit unrealistic. And buyers, I read on Twitter and LinkedIn all the time, everybody's pencils down. I'm not. I'm hunting for properties every day.
Sure.
But when I find them, I'll buy them. But there was a time where you could wave a wet towel over your head and hit 3 deals in any particular neighborhood. Those days, 2010, 2011, good times, man.
Oh man, you were in the business then?
I was just starting, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
but these days, not so much, right? It takes a little bit more creativity. And so, when you are finding investors to work with, how do you find them? How do they find you?
So we have 2 sides of our business. We have our private investors. So those are passive real estate investors. So it sounds like maybe you do some of that, but I don't know if you do syndications or not, but it sounds like possibly.
Yep.
So you understand very well that there's a passive real estate investing side to real estate. And so we bring in that investors just like you do. We're just on the debt side. So you're not going to get the high upside. You're not going to get the depreciation tax benefit. You're not going to get some of the benefits of investing in the syndication, but you're in the debt position. So it's very secure, very safe. So it's a little bit of a trade-off there. So that's one side of our business. And then we use that money to make loans to real estate investors.
Gotcha.
So the other side of the business is loaning the money out. So we bring it in, we loan it out. To answer your question, how do we find our clients? It's mostly word of mouth. Over 80% of our business is repeats or referral.
Wow.
Now
really?
we are marketing and we have a pretty healthy budget for that.
Yep.
So we'll do pay-per-click, we'll do, the standard stuff. We got a YouTube channel that seems to generate pretty well. Lots of free content and everything on that. But I really like content marketing. So we do classes, we do seminars, we do podcasts like this, we do the videos, newsletter. We just want to give, and it just seems to work where people want to work with you.
Well, I think you're spot on, right? Because former marketing guy, right? But the current marketing guy. But the fact is that when you serve a community and you educate them, it does a lot of really good things, right? First off, it shows your value system, and then people start to evaluate you in terms of the fact that you care that these people that you're working with are actually successful. And the other part of it is that they learn from you, right? So they get better at what they do by working with you, which is really, it's kind of one of those yin and yang things.
Yeah.
Where, not only are you funding the deal, but you're also helping them get better at it. So they make even more money. So they come back and do it again, right? Because that's where you make money is the rinse and repeat, right?
Long view. Yeah. It's interesting the way when I hear you say that, it brings me back to when I was just starting this company and my income really shifted when my focus shifted from my little commission check just so I could go survive, right? To let me help them become rich.
Right.
And it was such a shift for me that I would turn business down because I knew that they had a better option over here.
Right.
So I would tell them, go over here and work with this person because it's a better fit for your situation. Right. And I'm telling you, once that focus shifted to my little commission to trying to build something big and better, oh man, that's when I really started making money.
It's
amazing how that works.
It is amazing how it works because again, you're demonstrating your values, right? You legitimately, fundamentally want them to succeed.
Right.
The other cool part about it though, is that there's a psychology element to that in that buyers or investors, when they hear no, the first thing they're doing is, okay, why is this guy saying no to me? Is it me or is it him, right? Or her?
Mhm.
And the fact is that you're saying no because there's better alternatives out there. You actually want the best for them, right? And so that demonstrates, that you're a partner that I can work with. Even it may not be all the time, but a lot of the time, you're going to be my first call. And I'm blessed. I have somebody like that in my life, Mike Meyer over at CT REU Funding, and he is my first call every time. And every once in a while, he's like, I'm not the guy for you on this one. You got to, but I got 3 other guys you can call. So, and it's a thank God that he has that kind of integrity. Thank God you have that kind of integrity. So I'm curious, about growing your business. So, is the plan to grow the fund, or is the plan to grow geographically? Like, how are you continuing to expand the business?
It's interesting because you kind of have to grow the fund to grow geographically. So I guess maybe both,
guess,
but so we have 4 active funds. And our most current one is a public fund. So that was a big lift. Getting approvals from the federal government isn't so easy, right? But we got our approvals to say, hey, you're accredited, you're not accredited, doesn't matter. We could still bring in your money, your investment. So now we're enabling, normal, typical investors just trying to get going, some exposure to real estate. So yeah, we definitely want to grow that fund.
Yeah.
And it's a $75 million raise, and then we could renew it for another 75. So I don't see any reason to start a new fund necessarily. So we have 4. I think we're just stick with those 4.
Right.
As far as a business as a whole, yeah, we're trying to grow. I mean, we've got 13 people right now. We're hiring 2 more.
Wow.
We're based in Colorado, and geographically is a great way to do it. It's you can either do, geographically or expand your product line.
Sure.
But if we could stay super focused on our product, something that we know really, really well, I think that's the best way to stay safe with growth.
Yeah.
So
I mean, when you
I
niche,
think
from a marketing and customer relations perspective, when you niche down and you do 1, maybe 2 things exceptionally well, that is where, investors like me, or your buyers, your clients, or customers, that's where they really start to kind of hone in on, okay, these guys are the world class. I want to associate myself with world class. So it's it's a
good lesson for your listeners. I see so many real estate investors, like they have this big platter. Real estate's a huge industry, and there's so many different ways you can go. You have this huge platter and you won't pick up anything to eat, right? You're just like so overwhelmed with all the different options. And then entrepreneurs by nature, we have the shiny object syndrome, right? So we're always chasing the next squirrel or whatever. And we're not ever successful. But as soon as you can really focus in on a niche in the industry, then you will be successful. Now, can you focus in on something and not be successful and decide to shift? Yeah, you probably will do that. But if you don't at least focus, you'll never know if that's the right niche for you or not. Right. So I always recommend bring that focus in. If it fails or doesn't work like you want it to, shift then, but don't try everything at once. It's just not going to work that way.
So Jeffrey Moore, who's a technologist back at Silicon Valley venture capital guy, he talked about the bowling pin strategy, and it was basically the exact same business lesson. And that is, do one thing, do it great, do it better than anyone else. And then when you have built a business that no longer requires your day-to-day activity, expand to the next one-off of that, right? And you're talking to a guy who has a profound case of entrepreneurial ADD, right? I mean,
we all do.
I'm chasing shiny objects and squirrels all day. But the fact is that when my business started to take off, I followed the advice you just gave, which is, we were flipping houses. I was wholesaling a little bit. I was doing a little bit of multifamily. I thought about self-storage, right? All good things. But what I found is that I was involved with the local REIA, and coaching and all that. And what I found was that I was adequate at all of them. And in some of them, I actually wasn't that good, right? But when I finally focused on one thing, turns out we're really good at it, right? And so, then you build that business, and then, okay, maybe someday we'll get back to flipping. I love flipping. I love everything about it. the chase, the design, the build, the sale, all of it. There's nothing I don't like about it. And I miss it desperately. But, the fact is that focus is certainly something that most people, almost every new real estate investor that I meet, they want to flip a house and then they want to go buy a 10 unit. And then, oh yeah, there's a self-storage deal that I'm interested in. You're spot on. You're spot on, Kevin. It's pick one, do it really well, build a business. And then when the business doesn't need you anymore, go build another business. Right.
Yeah. Give it a fair go. Right. You're going to fail. So if you stop when you first fail, you're never going to be successful at anything on the platter.
Right on.
So I think you got to give it a fair go, fair time, maybe 3-6 months. I don't know what everyone's going to be different depending on how much energy and effort and all of that, but give it enough time to know it's not the right fit and then shift.
Right. Absolutely. So Kevin, leaders are readers, right? And so I'm always curious when I meet an executive like you, how do you sharpen the saw? Are you an audiobook guy? Do you listen to podcasts, YouTube videos, read books? And specifically, I'm curious, a guy in your business, who are you paying attention to? Who do you follow these days?
Yeah, I guess I do all of that. On the podcast, there's some local stuff that I listen to, some industry specific stuff I listen to. I really am liking Tim Ferriss. Yeah. It's so broad and so many different things, but it's always so educational. Yeah. Audiobooks, it's a lot of recommendations. So I'm waiting for my credit so I can get my next one. But I just got done with Joe Dispenza. He's like a secret guy, like the law of attraction and working with your subconscious and all of that. Okay. And, my next one, I'm going to shift over to something more personal. It's a family, strong fathers, strong daughters. So I'm going to listen to that as soon as I get my next credit. Then I read. So I'm really into the traction right now. Gino Wickman. Right. So I've probably read that 4 times. And
are you in EO shop?
I'm EO. I'm in EO. I'm not. We're doing a self-implementation of traction. So gotcha. EOS is the system, and we're trying to self-implement. It's very difficult, but I have a good leadership team, and we're all focused on different areas of it. And we're come together, and we're doing the meeting pulse and everything like they talk about in that book. Awesome. And it's challenging, but it's a lot of fun, right? That's how you scale and grow. Right.
Yeah, and it's a process. It takes, especially if you're self-implementing, it takes months and sometimes years.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So I read every single day. I mean, I have a routine. Now I'm a single father, so I have my kids half and not half. So my routine is a little different depending on the day, but it's get up, it's workout, it's try to meditate. That's so freaking hard for me. But then I read every day. So that's the routine.
Yeah. It's, I'm glad you mentioned meditation. One of the things that, entrepreneurs, right? It's all about high octane caffeine and go. But there's something to be said for 2 things that a friend of mine gave me advice on, and a very successful executive unto himself. He said, I do 2 things every day that keep me effective. One is I meditate, right? I slow down, I block the world out, even 5 minutes.
Yeah, right? It doesn't take much.
Doesn't take much. But the other thing that he does, and I've modeled this, I do this myself, is you take some time to think, right? And just not work. 5 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. Think about, where you are in the business, where you're going, who needs help, where can you support them, and, and work on the business. But think about it, and call time out and slow down, because, I can't tell you how many days, I'm sure you've had the same experience, where you sit down at your desk at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and you go, or 8 or 8:30 or 9 or whatever. And you go, and you look up and it's dinner time. Yeah, and you're like, totally. What just happened? Right.
Yeah. So it's interesting you say think. I agree with you 100%. And that's so much pressure. Like you're like, oh God, now I got to think. It's so hard to even get control of my mind. How do I think? Right. And entrepreneurs have that problem.
Yep.
So if you could just slow your mind down and focus on not thinking,
right.
Oftentimes that's all you need to have that idea or the problem solving solution or whatever it is that you're struggling with. Yeah. A good way to do that. You asked me drop some nuggets if I can. Well, here's one way that I know is effective. And if you could just look at a flame, your mind will be quiet. So if you're if it's a campfire, if it's a fire pit in your backyard, or if it's a candle in your bedroom, if you could just look at a flame, your mind will naturally quiet down.
Really? All right. Well, I'm going to try that.
Just stare at it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Because the way my brain works, it's like the old AM tuner where you take the tuner and spin it and you hear all the radio stations all the way up and down the band. That's my brain every day. So
probably every single one of your listeners are,
probably,
if you're listening to this, you're a high achiever, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
You're probably very similar.
Yeah. So yeah, that's really good. I'm gonna try that tomorrow morning, as a matter of fact. So that's cool. Thank you. So Kevin, I'm curious, when you're not funding all of these, raising capital and funding all of these investors' projects and frankly their dreams, what do you like to do? What do you like to do when you're not doing that?
For fun? Yeah. So I live in Colorado. I live right on the foothills. So I don't know if you know the area, but I'm really close to Red Rocks Amphitheater.
Oh.
So I have surrounded by open space. So I like to take my mountain bike out. I like to get on the hill. I love hiking, snowboarding, all of that. We take our family up. My kids have been skiing since they were like 3 years old. So we like being outside. We live in this amazing state. I feel I'm biased, of course, but I feel very lucky to be here.
As a guy from Connecticut, your state is spectacular.
Thank you. Well, I want to take full advantage. So we're outside as much as we can.
Okay, cool. And so, as you expand, so, our audience is all over the country, and actually people elsewhere are starting to listen to us too, which is kind of cool. But, if you are, as you expand your business and, someone like me comes along, how would they get in touch with you? Like, what's the best way to learn about Pine Financial and you and your team and get in touch if there's a, potential project that's a good fit for you guys?
Yeah, you mentioned before you hit record here that you might ask me this question, and I would tell you, I told you I was going to share some free reports with your listeners.
Awesome. Thank you.
So what I've found in this private lending business is, first of all, it's an amazing way to generate passive income, and you can work with a company like mine. That's great, but you don't have to. You go out there and do it on your own and probably make more money, quite honestly. And some people go out and try to do that, but then they get themselves into some trouble. Yeah. And they make a mistake. And then I get the phone call, like, how do I get through this problem? And I'm always willing to help if I can. So I'll definitely take that phone call, but it's better if we could prevent that problem. Right. So because I was getting so many of these calls, I just wrote a report like to try to help more people not make those mistakes if you want to go out and do it on your own. So that report. And then I also wrote a report on the economy. Now, I know you said it might be 2 months or so before you drop this one. Yep. So I don't know how relevant this will be, or I might have a different report up by the time this comes out. But I think what we're going through right now, the high inflation and rising interest rates and all of this, it doesn't really resemble 2008, which everyone is freaked out about, right? They're worried about, especially with some of the stuff that's going on in banking right now. Yeah. People are nervous about another 2008 crash. Well, I don't think that's coming. I think we need to compare what's going on now more to 1990 and the early 90s and that recession. So I wrote a pretty in-depth report about why I feel that way and comparing the two. So those are the two reports that are up there right now, and you can get those at thepinereport.com. So it's thepinereport.com. If you want to reach me, you can probably the best way is through our website, and it's pinefinancialgroup.com.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for your time today and all your experience and those gold nuggets you dropped along the way. It's a pleasure to see you, and I'm looking forward to keeping in touch. So it's been fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. I had a great time.
Yeah, it was a good time.